Oh, my name is Kathleen Fiorini, and I am 53 years old. My husband's name is Dennis Fiorini, and we've been married in April 34 years, which is a miracle in and of itself because I came from a very broken home myself that was not conducive to marriage, and the Lord has taught us how to be married over the course of many years. I'm very thankful that God blessed us with two boys. My oldest son's name is George Jacob, and my baby son's name is Zach Paul, and he is married to Kendra. They have a child who is 8 months old today. Happy birthday, Caden. Happy 8th birthday, Caden. I'm a social worker. I'm a therapist, a licensed clinical social worker. I started off as a social worker through being the interpreter for the deaf and going to school and get my degree in interpreting. And then I studied my bachelor's of social work and my master's of social work. And then I took my licensed clinical social work exam, and I've been a therapist now for several years. There have been so many one moments for me. I've been very, very blessed of God. But recently in the last year, I was diagnosed with endometrial cancer. And at that time, when I got the call from the doctor, I went into my room and I shut my door and I knelt my face down to the ground, and I made a decision right there that I was going to worship God no matter what came, because I had been sick for very many years and it had been a long road. But I had just put up with it. I didn't know how sick I was. And so I just kept trying to push through. I would work or be involved at church, and then I'd just go home and be exhausted. And so the doctor called and said that it was cancer and they would have to do a surgery. I knelt my face to the floor and I said to the Lord, God, I am walking in your mercy. And at the time, I thought that I was saying that in and of myself, because the enemy had been battling me at a horrible rate because of the abuse I'd been through. And though I'd helped many, many people, the devil was trying to tell me that I was going to turn around and hurt many people or be a person. And so I often would limit myself how I would react and relate to people, and I would try to be careful instead of giving the love that God wanted me to give. And so at that moment, that was a pivotal moment for me, because I said, Lord, I am living in your mercy, and whatever happens here, I'm not going to be afraid, and I'm going to worship you through it. And I felt such a strong presence of the Lord fill my room where I was kneeling with my face to the floor. And so from that time, I saw so many amazing things happen to me that came out of that one moment where I said, Lord, I'm not going to be afraid. I'm going to worship you. And I know I'm walking in your mercy. And later I realized that didn't come from my spirit. That actually came, the Spirit of God spoke that through me. I went to my pastor because I had been the devil was bullying me, and it was the devil had been bullying me, telling me that I was a terrible person and that it was just going to get worse as time went on. So I finally said, I did what I always tell my clients to do as a therapist, or my friends or my family, is if you're struggling, you need to go talk to the person that is the shepherd of your soul. So I went and saw Brother Bachelor, and I said to my pastor how the devil was bullying me. And that was that's something recently I've come to start calling it that, because, when we see kids that are being bullied at school, we want them to speak up, and we want to teach them that is what it's called. But how often as children of God does the enemy of God try to pick on his children and bully his children? And so I said to the pastor what was going on, and the pastor said, Sister, I have a word from the Lord from you. And I took that word and I ran with it. And at that moment, that was such a pivotal moment for me, because I said, Lord, I'm going to hold on to this word. I had to have it. And I told Pastor what I had felt about walking in the mercy of God. And moving on from that time, I know God started making a change in me, and He's still changing me. He's still every day, even today. So I would say to everyone that if you're having struggles, if it's something in your past, or if it's something where you feel like you're disengaged from the church, or you feel like you're being overlooked or disrespected, talk to your shepherd. They cannot help you, and they cannot fight the wolf or the lion that is after your soul if they don't know what's going on. But if you go to your pastor, if you go to that person who's your life group leader, you're going to get wisdom, and you're going to get a prayer warrior. You're going to get a fence around your heart, and it's going to make all the difference for you. The Lord does what He wants wherever He wants. So He will give you joy. Joy does not mean that things are perfect or even that you're happy. What it means is there's a contentment that flows out of you, and He will put you in places if you will say, I don't want this time to be wasted. Okay? So I often tell my clients, my patients, that God doesn't waste my time when they ask me, can I get through the other side of this? And I'm not talking about where I'm at now. But when I was in the middle of, I went in to have my surgery, and the doctor said it was so bad that they couldn't do it the way they wanted to. And they pulled a tumor out of me that was the size of a 5-month pregnancy. Well, the next day, but on the way to the hospital, I said to God, Lord, I say to people all the time that you don't waste my time. I don't want this time to be wasted. I was starting to get nervous. I hadn't been afraid, but I don't like being cut on. So I was starting to get a little nervous. So I submitted that to God. And I said, Lord, I don't want this time to be wasted. Whatever it is, when I go in there, I don't want it to be wasted. I don't want it just to be a day where nothing happens. And so as I'm going in there and the doctor's talking to me, and I come out of it, and the doctor's like, this was so bad. We had to do it. You were cut from here to here. Well, the next day I get up with no pain, and the whole time it never got above a 1. And I walked, and I got to hold my boy's hands as I walked around the hospital. I think that if I would say anything to anybody, I would say the same thing I say several times a day, that God knows the potential that is in you that you do not know. And that if you will say to God, Lord, I don't know what you're doing, but I will trust you. And if you will put the opportunity right in front of my face, I will walk through that door. And when my emotions are not there, and when my feelings, when I don't feel like doing what you want me to do, I will, in the moment, I know I will be all in. But right now, I don't feel like I could go out and jump over a wall. But in the moment, I know I will. So if you will bring me to that moment, Lord, I will walk into that moment and trust that you will take me through it. That's what I would say, is that the people that are going to come to us in the future, the people that God bring to you, the person that is right in front of you that God has brought to you, you have in you, and God is putting in you what you need to give to them. So if that person's in front of you, you have what you need to be a witness and to be a strength and to be an encourager. Don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt God in that moment. God knows who He is bringing to you, and He is going to use you to give that person salvation and healing and blessing, and to change their future. And you are going to become a pivotal moment in somebody else's life.